Welcome everybody. As I'm looking at our participant number, I see that we have well over 200 people in attendance, which is tremendous. We're really glad we can offer this opportunity for our students and parents in the district this evening. We're going to cover a lot of different information this evening. My name is Greg Yoder. I'm one of the guidance counselors at West High School. Some of the panelists that you see kind of off to the side are some of the other counselors at City, West, Liberty, and Tate, as well as a representative from the Kirkwood Regional Center, Haley Hebel. She'll talk for quite a bit today. Just a couple of housekeeping items this evening. If you have a specific question about your child and some of the things that they are specifically interested in, I would encourage you please to reach out and contact your child's counselor. I know in our case at West High, we sent out a registration thing, and you can always try to book an appointment. Each individual school does it a little bit differently, but when in doubt, feel free to call their prospective guidance offices, because our first goal is we really want to have as many good conversations with students and give them as much correct information as possible as we head into this. And a couple of other things, these things that we're going to talk about this evening are not necessarily for every student. Every individual needs to kind of weigh their individual circumstance. As counselors, we can help in that process a little bit, but there are some pitfalls that can exist. Sometimes we as counselors struggle to get everybody, all the I's dotted and T's crossed. I know Kirkwood and Haley struggle with some of that stuff too. I can't stress how important it is for students to check their emails on a regular basis, because that's a huge form of communication for Kirkwood and for us. And so students' school emails are really super important as students get into this process, and we try and get all the orientations done and check off all the boxes that need to be done in order for students to enroll. Last little bit of logistics before we get really started. If you have specific questions, you can type them into the Q&A. Many of the counselors that you can see on the side of your screen will be trying to answer some of those, but then some of the more difficult ones that require a little bit longer answer, at the very end we'll have a time for questions, and we will address any of those kind of bigger picture questions that maybe we need to reiterate as we go. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi everyone, I'm Mary Peterson. I'm one of the counselors at City High School, and we're going to cover three main options that you have for college credit in high school right now. We will cover the Kirkwood Academies, which Haley is going to cover in depth for you. Also, courses that are offered in the building at Iowa City Schools. We have Project Lead the Way options. We're not going to go too much in depth with that, but if you have questions, you can contact your counselor. And also we will talk about advanced placement or AP courses that you can take. And then we will cover PSEO classes, which are post-secondary enrollment options at the University of Iowa. All of these are free of charge if you meet certain criteria, and we will go over what those criteria are throughout this presentation.
Hi, everybody. My name is Troy Bergman, counselor from Liberty High School. As Ms. Peterson mentioned, some of those courses that we offer are dual credit courses. So these are courses that are in the building and are given high school and Kirkwood credit. These are separate from academies, so these are often taken in conjunction with academies so that students are maximizing their opportunities for earning college credit. These are automatic credit. So a grade is earned in the course, but this is also really important. So this is high school and college credit. So this does calculate into the courses through Kirkwood. All courses through Kirkwood are calculated into your high school GPA, and you are starting your college transcript. So you are starting your college level grades. And it's important to remember that these you're starting your college GPA really with any of these options that we're talking about tonight. So that's just a really important thing that we want students to keep in mind. Examples of those dual enrollment options, the Composition 1 and 2 for seniors in our buildings, that's offered at all of the schools. Personal finance, which is a new graduation requirement. There is a high school option, but there is a Kirkwood Community College option as well offered within the building. And then again, as Ms. Peterson mentioned, those Project Lead the Way courses. And there's some examples listed there. Just important to mention that not all of those courses are offered in all of the buildings. When students do registration next week, or they can look at the registration sheets that they may have received the last week to see which Project Lead the Way courses are available at each building. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Haley Hebel from Kirkwood Community College, and she will talk a little bit more about some options through Kirkwood. Thanks, Haley.
Thank you, Troy. Like you said, I am Haley Hebel. I'm the Student Academic Support Coordinator at the Kirkwood Regional Center in Coralville. And my job is similar to that of the high school counselors, just with the students' college credits. So we can go ahead to the next slide here. Okay, so just another brief topic about the class options, the different things that Kirkwood offers is we call the classes that are on-site in the high school, we call those on-site as listed here, Kirkwood classes taught at your high school. Anything that's taken online or potentially at one of the main campus locations would be alternative concurrent. And then we have the academies, and this is the big part of what we do. So academies are a year-long commitment to take classes that focus on a potential area of interest. Maybe it's a career students think they want to go into, or a major they want to pursue, or they just want to start taking some general education courses. That's a great option for students too. We run on semesters instead of trimesters like the Iowa City School District does. So our academies are typically about 2 classes in the fall and 2 classes in the spring semester. There are a few academies that have some shorter classes in there, making each semester a little bit more number of classes, but pretty equal to the number of credit hours. Most of the academies are 12 credit hours. We do have one that is only 9 for the year. And our plan of study is available on our website that lists out all of the academies that we are offering. You can go on to, sorry, Troy, am I able to? No, you do? Okay, we're good. So here's just a list of all of our academy offerings here. They are subject to change, and we do have to have a certain number of students in each program in order to run them. Every once in a while, we do have the issue where we have to cancel an academy, and in those cases, students are called from our office and we work with them to find another placement for them. But as you can see, we have a great number of options for students to choose from. And this coming year is going to be a little bit different than it's been in the past. Up until this point, we've told students you pick an academy and you take that whole academy. You don't get to pick and choose which aspects you participate in. But moving forward, there's a little bit more flexibility with certain programs. Any of these ones listed here that say pre in front of it, pre-professional, pre-social work, pre-criminal justice, these are all our arts and sciences, our liberal arts academies. These are going to be part of our pick and choose options moving forward. And we really encourage students to go ahead and schedule an academic advising meeting with me so that we can make sure that the classes they're signing up for, if it's within those fields, really work towards their goal. We can go ahead to the next slide. So why would a student participate in an academy? It's a great way to get a jump start on college. All these courses are free to students. We even give students their books. So long as the students give the books back, you don't get charged for them. If students don't return books, we track them down one way or another, but that would be the only way that a student would get a bill for a class if they registered for classes the correct way. It's a great opportunity to explore subjects and careers that a student might be interested in. Our instructors are experts in their fields. Many of them have a great deal of years in the working world. They're not purely academics. You can take courses that will transfer to other colleges and for other programs, gain entry-level job skills and opportunities for immediate employment. On that last slide, I had advanced manufacturing and automotive academies listed. The students who participate in those academies have the opportunity to sit for some certifications that make them immediately employable. And they also gain a competitive edge for scholarships, apprenticeships, internships, and other opportunities like that. We can go ahead to the next one. But so we do want to talk about whether this is the right fit for your students. Kirkwood classes, college classes in high school aren't the right fit for everybody. And so a few things that we ask students and parents to consider is the academic record, the attendance, assignment completion, maturity and responsibility level, and other time commitments. It was already mentioned that you can take those alternative concurrent or those on-site classes in conjunction with the academies. And we love to see students do that and really take advantage of the opportunity they have to take some free college credit courses. But if you have a ton of stuff going on outside of class, if you are an athlete, if you work, these are all things we like to consider so that we can make sure students aren't going to sign up for a huge workload that's not going to be beneficial for them in the end. A lot of these academies have very specific attendance policies. There are some that are attendance policies for legal reasons, like our CNA Academy. Students are required to be in class for so many hours every semester, and in the spring can only miss 5 hours of class. Any more than that, and they are no longer eligible to sit for the CNA exams. And all that we go over in detail with students during orientation. But these are just some things that we like students to think about before they sign up for some of our programming. So we can go ahead to the next slide. So that last one there, accommodations, perfect. Accommodations are available for students. Any student who has an IEP or a 504, accommodations are available. It is required to set up a meeting with me, and the students have to self-identify. We do not reach out to the counselors to ask if a student has accommodations. Students have to let us know, and we do work with them to set up accommodations according to what colleges are able to set up. There is a difference, a little bit of a difference between what we can do for high school classes and what we can do for college, but those are available to students, and they do have to be renewed every semester. So if you have a student who's currently in our classes who maybe has an IEP or a 504, feel free to reach out to me if they don't already have accommodations set up, or if they did set them up in the fall, we just need to renew them and it takes 2 minutes. But otherwise, that's all for this slide here. And then our next steps, if your student is interested in taking these classes, or if you would like some more information, you can also follow these steps here. Students should apply at kirkwood.edu/HS credit apply. It's very specific to high school students. Then complete the interest inventory. And when students do this, it's going to ask them what academy they might be interested in or what career path they might be interested in. Nothing is set in stone. This is just a tool for us to use when we're having advising conversations with students. They'll need to set up their Kirkwood email, schedule an academic advising meeting with me through that link there. And we can set up a plan for students for their either just alternative concurrent classes, on-site classes, and work with them to figure out how things transfer. And then there are, it says test scores and GPAs there, but there really is only one type of class that we need test scores for right now, thanks to COVID. If your student's interested in a math class, we do need them to take the ALEX, but for composition courses, we just need their GPA. And it's a 3.0 GPA, cumulative GPA or higher in order to take composition. And if your composition GPA is not quite high enough, then we'll look at your English specific GPA. Quick question here. If I'm already enrolled in a Kirkwood class, do I still need to do these steps? No, you do not. You do not. If you already have your K number and everything, please don't do another application. You'll thank me later. Okay. So you can go ahead to the next slide there. And then here's our contact information, my email, my phone number, and that link to schedule a meeting with me. Anybody can schedule a meeting with me. It does not have to just be a student. I will say that I am bound by FERPA a little differently than the high school counselors are, and I cannot discuss grades and attendance with parents. However, I'm always happy to speak to whoever has questions. And then down there is our information for the regional center as a whole. And just in case I'm not available, you're welcome to call that number there, or to send a note to that email address. And I will be sticking around just in case anybody has any questions for me.
Haley, maybe before you get done, there was a question about summer opportunities. Do you know if there will be any summer opportunities this summer?
So there often is summer opportunities, but they're very limited, very specific, and I typically don't hear about them until closer to the end of the semester, unfortunately. This past year, they were mostly canceled because of COVID. They tend to be options like nurse aid, which is the CNA class. Sometimes it's an internship type option for our opportunity for students who are interested in the Architecture, Construction, and Engineering Academy. But when we do have that information, if you have filled out the interest inventory, or if your student has filled out the interest inventory, you will get that information sent to you in an email.
Okay, next we're going to talk about the opportunity for earning college credit through AP courses that are at all the high schools. So this is advanced placement courses. They are all college level coursework taught at the high school. And each high school has over 20 different course options, and they range from all different subject areas: history, math, science, language arts, all of them. World language. So if you have questions about that, you can contact your counselor. The curriculum that is used is a nationally approved curriculum by the College Board. So teachers have to follow a specific curriculum to get that AP qualification. And the college credit that can be earned is not based on the grade that you receive in that class, but it is based on an end of the year exam that is taken in May. So the whole year is leading up to that exam if you're taking it, or it's just gaining the experience of that college level coursework within that class. The exams are based on a scale of 1 to 5, and usually colleges, if they award credit if you earn a 4 or a 5 on the exam in the specific subject that you took the exam in. And each college has their own AP credit policies. So you need to check with the colleges to see if they even accept the AP score. Oftentimes they'll accept it, but it might be elective credit, but it'll still be credit, like college credit, that you can apply towards graduation. And in the Iowa City School District, the GPA for AP courses are weighted. So that means they're going to be weighted on a 4-point scale, but you can earn a 5-point if you get an A, a 4 if you get a B. So some students will end up having a cumulative GPA that is over a 4-point in the Iowa City schools if they're taking AP courses.
Another opportunity for students is to take courses through the University of Iowa through what's known as PSEO, or post-secondary enrollment option. And these are designed for students that have exhausted all of Iowa City's curriculum within a subject area. So an example of that would be for students that have completed Calculus BC before their senior year and wish to continue in math, typically would take integrated algebra and Calc 3 at the university. And this is the same for science courses within a curriculum if they've completed all the AP courses, as well as computer science. We also have a number of students within the district that take world languages that we don't offer within the school district. So examples here of Korean, Chinese, German, anything outside of Spanish and French, basically, that the university would offer. There are some additional requirements on top of that. One of those is you do need to have a 3.5 cumulative GPA for admissions into the University of Iowa. So students do need to have that grade point average. Some other eligibility requirements: that you need to be a junior or senior or an ELP identified freshman or sophomore. Again, they need that minimum GPA of 3.5. And you have to earn college credit based on your AP score. So if you've maximized your exhausted all of the courses within an area, that Calc BC, those science courses, you need to have a 4 or 5 on the AP score of those courses in order to pursue those PSEO options as well. You do need, like Kirkwood, you do need to meet with a U of I advisor as well before they will allow you to sign up for that course. Just like Kirkwood, this does begin your college transcript. Difference here though, it is recorded on your high school transcript, but it's not included in your high school GPA. So the difference between the University of Iowa courses and Kirkwood is factored into high school GPA and college GPA. University of Iowa PSEO courses are on your high school transcript, but not your high school GPA, but it does calculate into your college GPA. So just keep that in mind. And then students have to provide their own transportation to and from the university for those courses as well. If you are interested, one thing to keep in mind is there's a pretty firm deadline of March 26th for those fall registration courses, or for fall registration. So we need to make sure that you meet those deadlines. There is an application that needs to be completed. And again, you need to meet with an academic advisor. So you want to make sure that you give yourself enough time for that. And just contact your counselor at your school and they can get you more information or the application as well.
Okay, this is me. So what I would like to do, all this stuff is very confusing between Kirkwood, on-site courses, PSEO, all that stuff. Go ahead and click on that link, and we will link the slideshow and the video of this today or tomorrow morning when we get back into the office. But what this is just a really nice chart that kind of compares PSEO, Kirkwood Academy's courses taught within ICCSD, just a lot of just specific information. PSEO typically is University of Iowa. Kirkwood Academies typically take place at the Kirkwood Regional Center. This past year, many of those courses are actually being taught in an online format, but I believe they're planning to move back to the Regional Center as much as possible next fall. Pandemic, of course, can throw monkey wrenches into things. And then the courses taught in the Iowa City School District in the online program, City High, Liberty, and West, they're all gonna have some of those dual credit courses on site. And so you can kind of look through this. I'm not sure I necessarily need to go through everything. As far as the big thing with PSEO, the prerequisite, students have to have a 3.5 GPA to be eligible. Or they must, as a junior senior, or they need to be considered talented and gifted as an underclassman. I think I saw in the chat, one of the questions was about the academies. Can students as sophomores sign up for an academy? Yes, that is a possibility. In those situations, we would encourage you to actually work through your guidance counselor, because we just need to make sure that we're meeting all our core course requirements in our buildings, and we're making adequate progress toward graduation, and we don't want to put something off that needs to be addressed during your sophomore year. Availability kind of speaks to that a little bit. Scheduling, we do the best we can to try and make sure these things all work out. The big thing, and I think we touched on this, academies are taught in the morning at the Regional Center from 7:30 to 9 a.m. And then also there's an afternoon one from 1:30 to 3. If students are interested in and need a bus transportation at some point, that is, the school district will send buses from high schools to the Regional Center and back again to take students there and back. In some students' cases, it's just a lot easier just to make their way there before potentially making their way back to school. A lot of different couple little nuances as far as transcripts are concerned. It should be mentioned the vast majority of these courses are semester courses. So while we are on a trimester system in the Iowa City School District, Kirkwood and the University of Iowa operate on a semester system. So there is a little bit of, it's not a perfect smooth transition from one semester to the next in some of these cases, but we do the best we can. And again, I strongly encourage you to work with your counselor to make sure that you are getting everything done to make sure that there is no overlap with any of those things. And sometimes we have to move some things around a little bit. All right, I think that's it for that. And then I think the final slide, we'd mentioned a couple different times, we really, as counselors, want to work with your students as much as possible. I know in our case at West, in the email we sent out, there's links where you can actually see our calendars and you can kind of book appointments as needed. You can always call on the phone, and we would love to visit with folks to talk through plans, to make sure that you're not overstating something or making an assumption or something along those lines. I know a lot of times if we do have a student who's interested in taking a morning academy, we don't necessarily encourage students to start their day at 7:30 in the morning and then take a full gamut of classes at the high school, because we do recognize that they are taking a full load with at minimum 2 college classes if they're doing an academy, or if it's a PSEO class, sometimes they have discussion groups at different times throughout the day. So there's just a lot of different factors that need to weigh in about with those. So if you have any questions about who your counselor is, please don't hesitate to reach out via email, phone call, or booking those appointments. Many of the guidance websites are really, really helpful in that we have a lot of information there. I know we basically took all of our information that we sent out in our email and we posted it by different grade levels so that students can find all the information that they need. Questions? I think at this point, I'm just going to open back up the Q&A and just kind of touch on some of the things and see if we need any additional information to be put in. It looks like the questions have been very popular. We've got 24 of them that have been touched on. First one was Calc AB. That's just simply Calculus 1. BC is Calc 1 and 2, compressed into one academic year. Sorry, I was too quiet. And yes, Comp 1 and 2 will be offered in the online, ICCSD online. That's my understanding. We will be posting these. What we'll do is we will take the video, we will convert it to a YouTube so that we're not necessarily downloading it to everybody, and post a link. At least we will at West High, and I'll make that available to the other buildings as well. There is not a requirement.
Greg, my plan was to send out, the YouTube link, and then I'll download the slides and have those available.
Yep,
as well.
Yep, we'll do the same thing, yep. AP Economics is not required to do the business pre-business course. That's not a requirement, but it's not a bad idea. Usually we don't find about summer courses until later in March or April. Touched on sophomores. Most of Kirkwood's credits are accepted most anywhere that students choose to go. I know they're widely accepted at the 3 state colleges. Once you get beyond the state, every college kind of has their own set of rules, but they are identified as college courses. One thing we kind of touched on, but we didn't specifically talk about it, but it's one of the reasons that the composition 1 and 2 are really, really popular at the state schools, Iowa State and UNI. A lot of times they have a rhetoric requirement, and students can fulfill that as high school seniors by taking composition 1 and 2, and there's something called fundamentals of oral communication. And if they do those 3 courses, they can fulfill like the University of Iowa's rhetoric requirement before they ever step foot in the door. So that's something that has been very popular as things go along. Question was, what grade do students usually apply? A lot of times these are most popular for seniors just because their schedule tends to open up. They don't have as many required courses. Whereas underclassmen, it's a little bit more difficult to fit everything in. There was another question about PSEO. PSEO stands for post-secondary enrollment option. That is something that each individual student or parent needs to reach out to their counselor and indicate that you have interest in that. And then at that point, we will send out the form and the timeline that's required for taking a PSEO course. Academies are groups of 4 to 5 courses. So we're talking about 12 or more potentially college credits that a student can earn by taking an academy. Students can retake AP tests if they so choose. AP exams are once a year. If a student is taking a course like Calc BC, they can sign up for a PSEO course with making the assumption that they will earn a 4 or a 5. They won't find that out officially until July. At that point, we can always cancel the enrollment in a PSEO course if need be, but it's good to have the paperwork in.
There's a couple from the chat that I want to bring up because I don't know
Yeah.
if everyone can see those. So one question is, if a student wants to sign up and pay for a Kirkwood class not in the academy, do we need to go through Haley? Haley, do you want to take that one?
So students would not necessarily have to go through me for that, but I would highly encourage you to do so just so that we can make sure that, one, if it can be paid for by somebody other than you, but if your school can cover the cost, that would be obviously more beneficial. But I would also like to talk to students about the college classes they're taking so that we can ensure they're making choices that are good transfer options. We talked about how classes transfer. Our classes are going to transfer one way or another. It's just a question of how. I like to give students of an example. When I was a Kirkwood student back in the day, I took nutrition at Kirkwood and then I transferred over to Iowa. And at that time, nutrition did not transfer as a science to the University of Iowa. It does now, but at the time it didn't. So it's just, we want to make sure that things are going to transfer the right way and what's going to work best for the student. So you don't have to go through me, but I would highly encourage it.
One other question was, which PSEO courses can sophomores take? And I think this just goes along with the same qualifications as juniors and seniors. If you're ELP, you can apply to take PSEO courses, but definitely talk to your counselor. Common ones are world languages that we don't offer in the high schools. Maybe it's German or Chinese, Italian. And I know you can take some of those through Kirkwood as well. I know Kirkwood, I have a lot of students that are always interested in taking sign language at Kirkwood. So those are different options.
I see there's a question about Project Lead the Way courses. Most of our schools will offer Project Lead the Way courses. Kind of the two introductory courses are Introduction to Engineering Design, what's known as IED, and the other one, which is POE, which is Principles of Engineering. Both of those are kind of entry-level courses that we would typically recommend. And then beyond that, there's a Civil Engineering and Architecture course. There've been a little change in recent years. We used to offer a class called Digital Electronics, and there used to be another one called Environmental Sustainability. But with us offering AP Environmental Science, I don't know that that's necessarily something that's being offered anymore in our buildings. We also have offered a Computer Integrated Manufacturing, I know, at West High. So those are some of the ones. Individuals who are interested in what Kirkwood academies are actually out there, if you just simply were to Google Kirkwood Regional Center, a lot of times you'll see the Kirkwood Regional Center's website will come up, and then it'll kind of take you to all the different offerings. And if you click on one of them, like say, for example, Advanced Manufacturing, it'll list, and that one has a lot more than 4 classes because some of them are 1 and 2 hour courses, but that's a lot of welding heavy type things. And so a lot of those are, again, vocational courses, but some of the arts and science kind of pick and choose things. There's just a lot of different options out there. And Haley's a really good one to help students, guide students through that to make sure that the classes they're taking really will dovetail well into what it is that they're planning to do. I don't necessarily want to touch on all 43 questions that are listed there, but
Right.
obviously we do what we can. Somebody asked a question about how many periods do I need to leave for a PSEO course? That's a really good question. And if you look at us as counselors, we're all smiling because we don't know. It all depends. If a student wants to take a class that runs from 9:30 to 10:20 in the morning, that's going to be a problem because that's our first and second period. And it also poses problems on Wednesdays for third period because third period starts at 10:30. So you just have to be very conscientious of what the high school schedule looks like. And in some cases, it might not be a bad idea to consider an online for a half of a day, the ICCSD online, so that, you know, if you want to take a college class that runs Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at this odd time, maybe Tuesday, Thursday, you're taking an online course or two in the morning off days of that, and then you can still do in-person classes at your high school in the afternoon. So there's a lot of different, I think the key to all of this is there's a lot of flexibility to everything. So we do what we can, but one thing we can't do is we can't have a PSEO class scheduled at one time and a in-person class at a high school scheduled and overlapping. A couple of years ago, we kind of took that out of, sometimes we were getting some students appealing to teachers, and administration just kind of said, no, we're not going to do that anymore because it puts teachers in a really bad spot. So we do encourage folks to make sure that their schedule will work. I don't anticipate that the high school schedule at Liberty, West, and City, I don't anticipate that that's going to change. Nobody's told us that it is next year, but we're learning to roll with the punches. Online, I believe their schedule is going to be a little bit different, and I think that online information will be coming out about February 1st for kind of public consumption. So anybody else have any other things that we need to touch base on this evening?
Yeah, I think, we're going on about 40 minutes. And so I know that there might be a couple of other questions, but I would just say at this point, reach out to your school counselor if there was a question that wasn't answered, and we'll do the best we can to help you out with that and get you the information that you need. So. All right, well, appreciate everybody attending this evening. And again, just let us know what we can do to help.
Yeah, I know we had over 280 people, I think, at one point on. So I think that's wonderful that everybody was able to get as much information as they could.
And thank you, Haley from Kirkwood, for helping us out tonight as well. Call Haley, she wants to talk to you.